Oh man, it's just one of those days. I woke up to the amazing biting of red ants. Trust me, this is not the first morning where that's been an occurrence. I have to say, I was a little bit surprised because the way it works is that during the late hours of the morning, normally, it's just whatever, right? Like there's nothing there. I can go to sleep anytime I want and just not have any problem. But I kid you not, when those lights are off and then that 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock time frame, a bunch of them swarm around in the same area, and it's always right by the spot I would lay my head. Um, and again, I'll get rid of them, whatever, and they'll disappear for like a week or 2 weeks, and the same cycle will repeat itself. And what I thought was so interesting is that when this was made to the, when this was like brought up to this amazing, terrific, so very helpful relative, their instinctive thing is to say, well, the first time that this happened, they, you know, blamed me. They said, oh, all this food, whatever they eat in here. Um, and in subsequent times where this happened, they tried to basically frame themselves as, I'm tired of doing this and I'm going to let them eat you and all these other nasty comments. I said, it's interesting that the person who never has to worry about waking up to ants biting them because they have a floor on the bed is more upset than the actual person that was bitten by them. Like I find that. But remember, we talked before about how none of this is relating to actually caring about someone, the self parody. So the minor inconvenience of having to clean off something for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes a week, um, is like just too much because it's not something about them. Like they're more upset by having to, or at least being asked or being directed to clean something than whether this person they claim that they love was bitten up or uh, attacked by these things. Because like I said, it's all theatrics, and they really do only think of themselves. Uh, no matter what the other person's role may be. They're the kind of person where if you were kidnapped, they would complain about, oh man, I got to call this person and ask them about the ransom number. And they would have like a bigger dread over that phone call than, you know, like they'd care more about having to make that call than whether you're all right if the person that kidnapped you did anything, because that's the way their mind works, where everything is about them. Um, and I've never we had a conversation last year about abortion, and I was talking about how it's a nuanced issue. People get it for different reasons. Sometimes you have these like parents that aren't ready to do stuff, and there are some people where they genuinely do make a mistake, or and then like they make the mistake, they get the operation, it never happens again. And like it's true. Sometimes people really do just mess up. And that's why I said I always do try to look at things in a nuanced way. But I was made privy to the fact that there are like these, because I said before, ever since the 80s, the 90s most especially, there's been this influx of a man and a woman having some kind of, uh, intimate affair, let's call it that. And then the woman gets pregnant, and then you know 50, 60 years ago it would be okay, well, I guess we'll have this kid and get married and try to raise it. But in the new extremely selfish, I shouldn't say new, but in the last 30 years there's been like this emphasis on, oh, you're pregnant, do you want to keep it, do you want to have it, this might be an inconvenience for us. this might not be something we prefer to have. We could take care of it if we work together, uh, and that's like another conversation I was gonna have about how so many times parents will frame taking care of children as difficult, and there are parts of it that I would certainly say there are, but it's like when you see parents, people who they didn't just start, right? People who've been parents for 20 years or some other like some over a decade long period, right? And you watch how they choose, right, to never work together. They choose to be as little involved as they can. Um, it's hard to be empathetic toward them. It's hard to think that that person truly cares about what was created because of them. And that's why I drew the comparison of how I had all these guys online that would talk about you need to feel bad, right? Because you're not with a woman. You need to feel bad because you're not appealing enough to them. But nobody ever says to women, hey, if you have a kid that you know you can't afford, or if you get pregnant at a time where you know you can't afford to have one, that's on you. Because remember, you don't just wake up one day and suddenly, oh, there's life inside of me. No, it's caused by, you know, procreation. So that's why I said it's ironic that in this era where people are going out of their way to try and like take women as a group and use them as like a framing device to beat you over the head with it metaphorically, like you need to improve yourself, you need to think about this, and you need to reflect on what you've done, like just this big push to try and make you feel bad over the decisions of women, when women actually have a choice of whether they want to keep a life or get rid of it. No one really seems interested in passing these extremely harsh assessments of, you should have done this, you could have done that. You don't really see it. I talked before about how a lot of these online guys are so hypocritical in terms of what types of things they're trying to like crusade against and what stuff they're all right with. Like we talked before about how so many times in the past you would have these people that would sit here and complain about these men that despise women, right? But then when people would come to me and write stuff about my ethnicity, no one said anything. It was okay. I said you can't try to make someone feel bad for critiquing women when the people that are on your side are making comments about that person's race simply just for the sake of being pricks. Uh, and it goes back to my thing of like this, this like moral high ground that they try to have, but it just doesn't work. Like imagine having someone tell you that you need to be responsible because you don't want to go to college and be in debt for the next 20 years. And the same person who said that literally had some doctors take a big needle and rip someone out of their stomach when they were 18. Like, are you kidding me? That's the person who's going to do this like moral equivocation of what's right and what's wrong. That's the person who's going to try and make you feel as if you've done some kind of great sin. Like, no, there are no children that are deceased because of me. It's just it's interesting. Just I said before, abortion is one of the few things you can do where there's like it's like a real life retcon where when it's done, everyone tries to pretend it didn't happen. Um, but then like if you do something, I'm not even kidding, you'll have longer lasting repercussions of like getting into a fight when you were in preschool than you do if you have an abortion. Like there's more people who remember the fight in preschool, or you talking back to your second grade teacher, or getting like suspended, in middle school. Like you have more people that remember and bring that up than the literal termination of a life. I mean, that's how backwards everything is. And I want to, keep emphasizing this. Are there situations where a woman really got put in a bad spot? Absolutely. Uh, that's why I gave the example of when, you have these teenagers that get pregnant, even though again, that's still something that is caused by them, no, whatever. But the point I was making is there are adults who, hypothetically, but theoretically could take care of kids if they, happen to get pregnant, whatever, and use the means of abortion as like almost an insurance against having to take on further responsibilities and to never learn their damn lesson, like, at all. I don't know if I can put up with this for 2 hours because those things are just all over the place. And it's like no matter how many of them you get rid of, they just spawn and spawn and spawn. No, I was having a pretty relaxing rest. I didn't go to sleep until I took a nap yesterday, like 5 to 7. Then I didn't go to sleep until like 3 in the morning. But I said, okay, well, I'm not going to be that tired because I slept for some hours before this, and so altogether it's probably like 6 because it was exactly like 8 o'clock, like a half hour ago when those things started, doing their mass invasion. And trust me, they come in giant groups in waves. Like sometimes I'm truly marveling at just how many of them will appear. Like you just you can turn your head in the morning and you'll see like 20 or 30 of them just running around. And because of some more lousy circumstances, I don't really have anywhere else I can lay down. So the only solution would be to, I guess, flip around or switch positions, hope they don't go over the other side. But yeah, the whole thing just stinks. And like I said, these are the types of things where I really, I don't know, it just seems as if stuff could be so much better than it is, and people have no interest in keeping it that way. Like I've been thinking a lot about that woman that did the whole, I'm having troubles with my ex or being messed with by my ex, and used that as like the basis to ignore me for months. And I said it's so interesting how you have this person who you didn't bother, you didn't call out their name, you didn't treat bad at all, and they will take this thing that is completely unrelated to you and cite it as the basis for just treating you like you're not even, just a thing that they even would care to acknowledge the presence of. And I looked around a little bit. They're online. You can see them. I saw her comment on someone's video not even 2 weeks ago, like within the last week or so. Uh, so you know she's around. She's very much still got some bit of an online presence, and that's why it drives me absolutely nuts that Like I said, the internet just it brings out the worst in people. You will get punished for stuff that has nothing to do with you, but you'll be treated like it was you all the same, you know? I mean, it's never not going to be pathetic that these people are like this. And that's part of what really drives me insane because I just think if human beings, like supposedly living people that breathe and eat and do everything that you and I do, could sit back and say, hey, you know what, maybe when I get upset over something, the person I should get mad at is the one who actually caused me to be upset. And maybe I shouldn't just haul off and decide, oh, I'm mad about, this, that, or the other. Well, time to take it out on this completely random person. Time to vent my frustration at this individual who had nothing to do with me being upset. Because why not? I'm serious when I say that it's just it's sad. Like I feel a genuine sense of just what's a good way of putting it? Like almost a hopelessness in the sense of um because there's no way to quantify it. Like sometimes when a relationship doesn't go the way you wanted it to, you start. And I said before, men get preconditioned through the internet to believe everything is their fault. But you really start going, oh, maybe if I had just done this, acted this way, whatever. It's like no, we now know for a fact that basically because she's so unstable, you were always going to end up with this result no matter what you did because you didn't do anything to her for her to start ignoring you. So it was just like a predetermined thing that, for example, even if her former boyfriend didn't bother her, she still could have gotten upset over a relationship with someone else that's not you, and then stop speaking to you because of that. It's really nuts. And she, her rationale. My brain shuts off when things go bad. Yeah, I can tell. Your brain just. I mean, I don't even think you have one. She was saying she doesn't have. She actually said she didn't have a heart. I said I don't think you have a brain. No one with any sense of reason or logic would do this to someone that they were over that were sitting around claiming that they liked. Not a soul. That's what I said, man. People are just so pathetic. They sit around, they make a bunch of excuses when they do something wrong, even if they apologize. It's almost always under an asterisk. Like I remember I mentioned that last year there was a relative who I confronted about the fact that one of the closest people to me had passed. They didn't say anything, even though they knew about it. They were staying in the exact same place as me. And the first thing they did was say that I'm not a very inviting person, even though they can. I'm so non-inviting that they can find a way to come and tell me to take out the trash. But I digress. Then after all these other people had left, they were able to finally come out and say, "I'm sorry, I didn't say anything." I said, "It's sad that like you had to be prodded a year after it happened to even acknowledge that it did. Like you really thought it was just like someone that you claim to love and one of the closest people to them pass away. You say nothing, and then you just that's fine. Like, But remember, that's why I said so often people will try to frame someone else as being weird or like there's something wrong with them. But if you look at the way that they act, that like if you really just sit back and think about the ways that these people act in comparison with their rhetoric, you will see just how unnormal they truly are. No one who actually loves someone else would say nothing to them for 9 months, 8 months, 7 months. Maybe if this was an era where people didn't have cell phones or emails or social media, I'd be more sympathetic. But this is a time period where it's easier than it's ever been to contact someone. It's easier than it's ever been to speak to another person. So when they don't say anything, it's a choice. It's something that they're doing on purpose. They don't want to talk to you. And I trust me, I don't claim to love people that I don't go out of my way to speak to. I find that really weird. That's why I said there's such a disconnect between the things that come out of their mouths and what they actually do. I'm telling you, this year and last year, it felt like there was this real push by these other people saying, I love you, I care about you, love, 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 care, care, care. And I said, I I just don't buy it. I don't. Because every chance these people get to actually be there for someone, they're not. Serious, like every chance they get to show that they actually care about somebody, nowhere to be found. Like not like there's almost nothing that they do that you could sit back and go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. This person said they care about this, so they do it. I mentioned like you'll have a person who complains about someone not having a job, and literally they do nothing to help you with getting one. This is them. That is the extent of their involvement. Just and like I said, it's not because it cost $1 million to fill out applications with somebody, or it's going to cost them anything of any true significance to actually like sit back and say, you know what, let's try and get you a position. Let's actually spend some time with regard to getting that fixed or solved or whatever. You're only not going to see them do anything because the reality is the optics are the only thing they're concerned with. Like, oh, this person related to me that I claim to care about doesn't have a job. Well, as long as I can feed myself, right? I mean, who cares about him? That's why I said it's all window dressing. It's all just this thing that you are made to, like just it's worthless talk. It's rhetoric that looks good on paper. It's rhetoric that looks good when someone is just sitting there and like talking about another person. But as far as an actual, true, substantive opinion, you don't see it. Like something that you can actually like put weight behind. Like, oh man, they must really care about him getting hired. I mean, they're over there filling applications every day. No, you don't see that from them. And not just them, but any of these people, they all sit around just, again, running their mouths. Because it's not about them. It's about them in the sense that they don't. like the appearance of it when it comes to like how it makes them look, but it's not a thing that's a true concern of theirs because they don't lose anything from it that is actually substantive. So that's just another example of the selfishness. I'm still laughing at that stupid Discord group where they were like, he doesn't want to talk to women anymore. He's selfish. I said it's so fascinating to me that you can have a group of people who are literally well known, like they're famous for talking to dozens and dozens of guys at the same time, not because they're all so, fascinated by all these different types of men and they truly don't know who to pick. No, they like the attention. I said before, it's very easy to get some woman to sit back and write 15, 30, 100 messages to you over the span of some weeks or months, and then, have that be the extent of your relationship with her. But as far as truly gaining something from that person that benefits both sides, borderline impossible. In fact, I was actually thinking of making a video about the Young Turks and their response to the AI girlfriends. I talked about in the video how there's this article that was talking about how AI girlfriends were ruining men or something or whatever. And God, they're just another example of these like childish, baby like simplistic analysis. Like you have the one guy talking about, oh, if you want to get a woman, you just have to go to parties and meet people. Yeah, it's I'm really debating if I want to make that video because I just found their responses to be so lacking in nuance, like even above what we normally see, where it's generally agreed upon that like, yeah, these people don't have these types of issues, so they don't really like put any serious thought into, can this be fixed, is this a hard or difficult thing for most guys. It doesn't even register to them. So there, that's another thing I'm thinking of making because their response was so just not what it should be. I say, isn't it sad that you get a group of three guys? Like, this isn't some women who've never been rejected before, like, sitting around talking about the supposed their refusal to believe in the plight of men. But like, you get a group of three guys, and not a single one of them can articulate the view of, yeah, this whole like thing of trying to get to know someone and build a relationship, etc. It feels pointless to a lot of men, which is why they say, okay, you know what? If I can truly never get with someone, let me at least seek out an alternative to the type of intimate relationship I've been denied by actual women. Like let me get something similar to that from this other source. It's really not that hard of a concept to understand. When a group of people makes themselves unavailable to you, whether it's because they're not interested in going on a date or they're talking to 50, 60, 70 other guys, you will look for source. Like I talked before about how, you know, yeah, the financial issues or whatever, but if I seriously was like, well off and wanted to have a family, it's long since dawned on me that like you're never gonna have that with a regular woman. So I would just go and adopt. Um, but my point is that you like a person who wants to do something many times will jump around uh regular, you know, means of getting it to do it. Yeah, the trash guys outside. Unfortunately, I have this big window in front of me that I can't close up. So if you can hear that, I apologize, but it is what it is. No, that's just one of the natures of this stuff. But yeah, it's been a really sad couple of years, just from the standpoint of people always look for faults in men, like that's their number one go-to thing. But there's a lot of problems with chicks as well that, again, because we live in this feminist society where everything is slanted in their favor, you're just not going to see it talked about. Stuff like they are just targeting women. Like, look, most men when they get turned down by some broad, just are like whatever. But it's funny because they try to frame it as if there's just these millions of guys on the computer all conspiring in these secret mass in these like not like open secret mastermind plots to get revenge on chicks. Like, come on. And that's why I said I had no interest in being affiliated with those groups because it's like I don't sit around going Mwahahaha. I will, I don't even think about them a lot of times. I'll see one that I might think is pretty, but besides that, I don't bother with them as a group. They're just not people I really consider that important. In the sense of like actively plotting to get revenge or something. The only revenge I'm getting is the fact that I'm getting my time back, all the time that was wasted even bothering with them in the first place. I'm also thinking of making a video called so like one of the lines that people use when they're online or just like trying to give their uh, supposed sympathy is "you are not alone," and it's supposed to like be this conveying albeit in a simplistic manner that if you're going through something there are people that can help you. And I was going to talk about how like not only are there some things that I truly believe you just can't come back from, but also you'll be very surprised by just like how much commercialization is in these different supposed support groups. They really care about me. No, they're getting paid. If the person who's not getting crawled on by them is more upset than the person who is, because that's just the type of backward stuff we live in. It's funny too because if you listen to them, they have like the most like righteous indignation. Like I had to do this. Like okay, somebody else was getting chewed up by these things that are here because the place is infested, but you're not going to complain about that. Like that, the actual broader issue that causes this to even happen over and over again. That's why I said everything is just such a joke. Even the stuff they take seriously, it's like if you really think about it, they're not truly taking it seriously. As far as if you wanted this to be resolved, there's things you could do, but you don't because you don't actually care. No, in general, I just started avoiding a lot of these computer women. Um, there was no real specific, like, I guess what it is that that one over the summer, I got really invested in speaking to her. So when she did her stupid thing, it just burned me, like, in a way I don't normally get, because like I said, I lowered my guard, um out of the belief that, like, hey, this isn't romantic, so it shouldn't be, it shouldn't end up going in some crazy direction. No, it went in a crazy direction. It absolutely did, for reasons that I think are kind of goofy, but whatever. All I can say is you won't see me express sympathy for one of these people ever again, because you can't get it from them, so they're not going to get it from you. I mean, I just think it, like, the practice of, let me speak to this person and not only just talk to them, but like talk to them for hours, one on one, he and I, and then suddenly I get upset over something that has nothing to do with him. So now I'm going to basically pretend he doesn't exist, for the sake of giving myself space from a person that I don't even know and isn't even the cause of why I'm feeling depressed. Like, it's just for the life of me, I can't understand the logic of it. And that's one of the things I said, that, like, a lot of times relationships with women feel almost like it's like a milk carton where there's the expiration date on there, and sometimes it's like blatantly plastered, but you just don't look at it. Um, I said, who's to say if I speak to another one of them, they don't do this? Where 2, 3 months, hey, how you doing? Hi, and then after that, they just stop responding, or, oh, sorry, I've been busy. My ex is messing with me. It's weird. So yeah, I'm pretty confident they're going to end up being in an actual video at some point, because this has upset me too much to not discuss it in some format where we get to show some screenshots. Hmm. Oh, yeah, that was the alarm. I was going to give myself another hour, and then the uh, that good old group of our red friends messed me up. Like, and sometimes I feel like the alarm is a jinx almost. Like, oh yeah, you're setting this so that you don't like not wake up on time to do whatever you're trying to do. Well, I guess we'll keep you up this entire time. The wonders of the bed on the floor. Just terrific. Oh, there's one of them right now. They're just all over the place. It's really crazy. But like I said, I'm never not astonished by how much people just think exclusively of them. And, like, I get it. Some do that for me. But I'm astonished that, like, there's people who have children, like, who have actually scenarios where they can just basically talk themselves like I heard before that sometimes people will say something out loud to a group of people to make to I guess what's the way of putting it, as a means of making themselves feel better about either a situation or justifying something to themselves. And that's what these people do. They will tell you, oh, I don't need to help my kid, they're an adult, but they never helped them even when they were a kid. So it's like, where does this newfound sense of, you know, uh just satisfaction with not being there come from? It's like it's so fascinating how there's some parents, they will help their kid from the day the kid is born to the day of their own demise. And then you have these other ones. Where did you come from? Why are you of the belief that you can just, they're like these strong, very brave, dynamic characters, and they're not. I'm not kidding when I tell you that I'm so embarrassed to be part of a generation where the most important thing for a lot of people, not for me, but a lot of people, is, do I have this type of relationship? And if so, what is going to come out of it? Um, how long before I have to look for somebody else again? Because, like I said, none of it is real. It's all an illusion. We told this story last Saturday about how you had this guy who is in his 50s that got fired for taking a picture of a backside when this woman was bending over, and they caught him on camera trying to take the photo of it. And I said, I would be so much more, not understand, because I would never do anything like that, but I'd be more accepting of a lack in judgment were it a guy who maybe was pretty young, hadn't dated before, did very little dating, whatever. But it's like, this is a, I'll tell you, when I heard that story, I didn't even want to believe it, but it's true. It was proven. Well, I have screenshots of the event, but just up and written. And that's another example of selfishness because, again, you're a guy with kids. So if you can't take care of your children, who will? They're fairy godparents. Like, that's why I said, man, people just, they don't think their only interest is in promoting themselves. Anything else be damned. Like, I'm really disturbed by just how little these people do in terms of like, hey, so we need to make sure we have this, we've done that. They don't care. Everything is in pursuit of a specific goal that is usually targeted towards improving the quality of their own life, and anyone else who happens to be involved can basically just kick rocks, can pretty much just go and fade away and disappear, and good riddance. And I find that very scary because, again, it's like, so we're just going to sit here and have nothing to do with each other until we need something, like, hey, hello, cousin that I never call or try to check up on or see how they're doing or anything like that. Can you come to my place and fix this for me? Hey, sibling who I refuse to spend any time with, can you come over here and turn on my internet. Mm. No, it's just it's sad to watch people behave like this. It really is. But yeah, the job thing is just a good example of that because it's like I never thought I'd live to see an era where you can have two, three, four different relatives that all have tried to like make you feel, you know, the supposed urgency of getting a job, but then not a single one of these shoe shine and bootlicking bastards can sit back and actually go over this stuff with you. Like actually sit down one weekend and apply to a bunch of places. You never see it. And again, the reason you don't see it is simple. They don't care. They like the theatrics. It's kind of like I gave the example of the parent who would say, "Oh, me and my kid look fly, right? This is their way of describing the oh so amazing attire of them and their child." But then you find out the kid is like failing multiple classes, and you go, "Well, wait a second. If your kid is flunking or not doing good in school, why does it really matter if they have 8 pairs of tennis shoes or 50 different shirts? Like, aren't your priorities all backwards if that's the true thing that you're concerned about?" But like I said, they don't think. They just do this weird random stuff, and you know, they only get mad when it's time for grades to come out and they can no longer pretend that they had no clue or idea that their kid wasn't doing well. Even though the writing was on the wall, you never saw them study, you never saw them, do much of anything besides sit and stare at phones and games all day. Because trust me, when there's something bad going on, I'd say in most cases you can see it coming. Maybe it's not that blatant. Maybe it's not just of such obviousness that it like hits you in the face. But a lot of this stuff, if you just sit back and you look at it and you go, okay, what am I noticing about this, that, or the other? You'll figure out. You go, wait a second, this is not congruent with what I understand to be the case. Why is this person acting like this? Why are they doing this? What's going on? Because did they? So many people have gotten used to this idea that the only time you get worked up about something is if it like smacks you in the face, if it finally makes itself known to where you can't even like try to pretend it's not going on. There are so many parents who will have like let's say a daughter and they'll let her run around town, be out of their sight, and then when she comes home with a pregnancy test that has a plus on it, they're shocked. They can't believe it. Oh my, who could have seen this coming? What a twist. It's like, no, you let this person run around with no supervision. They got around a bunch of different guys, and so the writing is on the wall. I'm not even kidding. I actually did have a dream about taking a test, and I couldn't remember studying for it. Um, but I guess what woke me up, I was like, wait, why am I back in school? Because I was confused. Like, I school again anyway. I don't know. I just always felt as if tests were counterintuitive. Like you're supposed to, they're supposed to test what you know, but then you study for them, so you basically are being given this. I don't know. I always thought that was weird. I'm not saying that schools shouldn't give them. I'm not gonna. say anything that insane. It's just that I've always felt as if there should be other ways to ensure that someone knows something besides, having this exam that they're given pre-notice of and can then use that time given in between. Mm. No, I've always been kind of like, I don't know. Even when I was a kid, I just thought certain stuff wasn't right. Like certain things are not the way they're supposed to be. Like I've said before, I will never believe it's normal for a woman to just be able to get any guy she wants. But if you're a man, you have to jump through 900 hoops to even talk to one of them. And the fact that people can even fashion themselves to say that that's a thing you're just going to have to do already shows you how much of the twilight zone we're stuck in. I'm saying there are so many women that I just super hot models that I it's enough to make me want to cringe. Like it's really just obnoxious. It's like you need to appeal to women. Okay, for what? They just yelled off some series of demands or advice that nobody asked for. Yeah, if you don't talk to them, you're selfish. Not the chicks that talk to 15 or 20 or 30 guys. They're not selfish. Not the women that if they get pregnant, they can just throw it in the trash. They're not selfish. I'm not even joking. Like if I could, just hypothetical, there's almost no way you would ever see me advocate for getting rid of a unborn kid. Like even if, which this would not happen, but like in the current scenario where stuff is kind of difficult financially, um, I still would, not support that. It's I don't know. For me, as said before, I couldn't live with myself knowing that I created a life and had the chance to, I guess, make it better, be there for whoever it was. But then I said, you know what? Let's not even try. So yeah, like I said, it's just depressing to think about because there's all these different women that have kids with men, and it's like it's under the most like lame, um, not healthy for the child circumstances that I see. I tend to see this popping up over and over. And we were talking about that woman where it's my kid makes noise in the background because that's what happens when you're a parent and you're trying to record. It's like no, when you're a parent and you want to record something, you simply have your kid go in another room, or you leave them with some person you trust, like the I don't know other parent of the kid. So that's why I said like I guess I'll look at it like this: to have some woman that you spoke to about your desire to want to get married and have a family, and to have her, just like never reciprocate your interest, you're not good enough for her, whatever. But to have that person within the span of just a couple of years now have a kid with some guy that is either completely absent or so absent as to where she can't leave the kid with him when she's trying to pretend that she's famous on the internet. I find that to be so, what's a good way of putting it? It's just a slap in the face to me more often than not. Just because when you try to give these people a scenario that's beneficial to both you as the man and then her as the woman, they're not interested. But then when they get these crappy scenarios of, popping out some kid with some guy they're not married to and some guy that apparently isn't even around, it's like they would rather pick that because, as I said earlier, childbearing is not about, at least anymore, people actually wanting to create the best possible circumstances for another human life. It is entirely the backseat issue to a man and a woman who think the other person is hot, um, banging. Like that's the main thing they're concerned about. If there's any children created in the process, that's an afterthought, and that's something that if they want to, they can just get rid of. And I find that very sad. Like I said, just as human beings, like we have nothing to offer each other besides running our mouth, pretending to care about each other, and doing some antagonistic stuff along the way. I'm dead serious when I say that I really want to make a video called "You Are Alone," and it would just be about how so many times when you come online, you keep hearing these lines. There's help. There's a better tomorrow. You can do the I guess the abbreviation would be the NSP, like National Prevention or whatever. But I talked about like with them when you call in, or when I called in about 9 or 10 years ago, having the lady who said that they're like trained to not become too close to the people that call in, like to not give their numbers, to not give you any way. And I said, you know, I don't know. I feel like if I really cared about seeing if someone was okay, yeah, they can make a follow up case or whatever. But like, I don't know. I just think if you really cared, you would call that person or try to see if they're all right. Like you wouldn't have to put up this wall between you and what you believe to be a suffering person. But that's why I said it's all theatrics. It's all there. Most of the people that do that stuff, this is my opinion. I'm not going to say I have some statistics, but I truly believe most of the people that are on these self-help websites, these advice sites, these therapist sites, even these like different numbers you call someone, talk to them, I think most of them are just doing it to make themselves feel better about themselves. For that reason, like there's you don't you're not going to tell me that someone who won't even flirt with the idea, let alone actually do it, of like, hey, can I have your number so if something happens, I can call you and talk to you. I mean, like I have people that get depressed that I've spoken to. I've never said, well, you'll have to reach me through Discord or Twitter. Like, no, if you have my number, whatever, we speak. Sometimes I'm not available at specific time, but still, it's like just that's what I'm saying. I don't have these the barriers I have are the ones where I feel like bothering with a lot of these people is just not helpful to me. Like the barriers I have are the ones where you're trying to just stave off being lied to or mistreated again. Not like, oh, this person wants to get to know me, time to ignore them and treat them like trash and make it to where they regret ever even having met me. I don't do that. My barriers are entirely there in case I feel like I'm getting too close to somebody, they're going to burn me. I don't. Like I said, after this summer, I'm just not in the mood to risk that again. It is too frustrating, and I'm not a fan of having my time wasted with people that aren't serious. So, thanks for showing up and watching. and I'll be back on Saturday. So have a good rest of your week.